Hi, Pawan. So I don't have an opening yet, so bear with me. Just starting this channel. So just give me some time. But how are you? Hope you're doing well. Everything's okay. Okay, so let's get started on your reading. So I should have a picture up to show you what the spread looks like. Yes, I did create it on my own. It's my own deck. Took some images, had a free Canva trial, and decided to just make it work. So here we are. Okay, so the very first card, which should be the card at the top, or the card that you chose, says, I stare at your pictures all day. The best part of my life is you. Okay, so that could be somebody towards you, or this could be how you feel towards someone. If you look at the card, this is what I call my decision maker card. This is somebody who moves the masses, also somebody that is well traveled. They have a certain level of spirituality maybe a lot of people don't know about or have not reached yet. Dubai could be significant. Europe, Japan, art. Somebody could be a fan of the arts, an aesthete of the arts, or an artist. Okay. Thank your team for finding the needles in the haystacks. A bonus is in order. Okay. Okay. And we have make love. I was not ready for these cards. I'm sorry. I created them, yes, but it's been a while since I did some readings. Okay. Make love to me tonight and you will cease many future wars. Okay. Show up and show out in the room they swore they blocked you from, and walk gracefully past the gatekeepers you're firing upon arrival. Do it all with a smile. Okay. Ooh. So, okay. Sorry. Sorry. First, delegate, then divide, then subtract. Even Einstein had twice as many solutions to his problems. And then we have a military card. It says, what you saw needs to be talked about. There is trauma residing in your body because you need to speak up. And this is under thank your team for finding the needles in the haystack. We also have a reversed card. It says you are experiencing the love of a high-ranking earth angel. Don't anger them, but that's in reverse. And we have something needs to be asked bluntly without cruelty. Then the next card says, my heart chakra has been closed for a while. I wasn't expecting this. Give me a moment. Okay. And this is under deception. It says quality over quantity, third parties, and misinformation in relationships, setups, and traps. Okay. Time to resurrect and redirect to collect your good fortune. And we have for the Grecian card, person has a lot of options. Okay, so let me just take the time to look at this. Did I mention it's been a while since I did this reading? Or reading. It's been forever. It feels like, but. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so from the looks of it, this is a little bit of everything. This is love, this is career, this is finances, this is everything intertwined into one. Now, trying to figure out why this card is reversed, because apparently you are not experiencing love from a high-ranking earth angel, and you're not angering them, but the fact that this card came out means you know of them. So Maybe your team found this person. You were probably looking for someone and you found them. Or you asked your team to look for someone and they found them for you. What needs to be talked about? Because I feel like, what is it that needs to be talked about? Okay, this could be something in regards to your legs, because the card that came out it's a military card, but the card says talk about a 38-year-old man and Jesus telling him to walk, right? So circumstances, this could be your actual physical health, like get up and walking, or this could be like your need or the need to realize your strength in the circumstance. So I like the story of Jesus telling a man to get up and walk, because the man expresses how he's pretty much resentful and he's angry for all the other people that get a chance to get into the pool, and they walk over him, they step all over him, and they get into the pool, but he can't get into the pool, right? And he didn't get into the pool, so much so that he considered himself to be crippled. So Jesus asks him if he wants to walk and if he wants to be healed. And the man says, yes, right? And then Jesus tells him, well, get up and walk. So the reason why I like that story so much, and please don't quote me because I'm paraphrasing a lot of this story, but the reason why I like it is because it shows you that somebody who's considered as chosen, right? If you take, for example, Jesus is considered the Messiah. So somebody that is considered the Messiah wanted the person who felt like the most insignificant man in the world, right? Or at least they felt that way. And he was pretty much teaching them that they had everything that they needed in order to not only go into the pool, but to walk away from what they thought would be the best option, which was the pool. Now, I don't know what your representation of the pool could be. The pool could mean anything. It could mean a certain industry. It could mean a certain category of what your definition of wealth is. It could be anything, right? But not putting yourself in a state of feeling so insignificant or being so bogged down by what has happened or the trauma that has happened that you feel like you can't even get up and walk, or you don't even have the strength to walk or just carry on, right? Because it is the power of the mind. And pretty much there's no, I don't know if this is going to get too deep, but when we think about it, right? Because, okay, I'm going to get technical on a spiritual level, because when you look at it in the Bible, in the Christian Bible, by the time he gets up and he decides to walk, right? He's approached by the people who are pretty much at the gate. And it's just like, who told you, right? Who told you that you can get up and walk away from the pool? And it's just like Jesus did. And they were looking for Jesus, and Jesus was nowhere to be found. And that's why I say that this is the power of the mind, right? Because at some point in time, you are going to tell yourself that you have the strength and the power to get up. All you have to do is realize it, right? And all you have to do is realize that that pool or that expectation or what you thought you wanted is probably not something that's best for you, because it's the pool that everybody else has been in. So let's say you're meant to create your own pool. You're meant to create your own lane. You're meant to create your own level of industry. You can't do it if you are walking into a pool where a lot of trauma has happened, or you feel that before you got into this pool that you thought you wanted to be in. And again, the pool could be a representation of anything, right? You felt crippled, or you felt like you were disabled, or you did not have the power to do so. So, let's see. So maybe what's residing in your body is this mental state of, I cannot do it because. I cannot do it because of this physical condition. I cannot do it because of this, the experiences that I face. I cannot do it because everybody else did it before me, right? How can this person release this? Well, okay, so even the card that came out is a card with a heart on it, and it has all the planets surrounding this heart, okay? And I know I'm going to get better with the pictures, just give me time. So, even though it was not clear what happened, you are not wrong. That's what the card says. So, in order to release this trauma stems a lot from guilt, right? A lot of people think that, like, how do I put this without making it seem like it's a fact, right? That's what I'm thinking. So a lot of people think that when a person is diagnosed with forms of cancer, right? The first thing we think about is, oh, what could they have done? Now, if you look at life, just in general, you can be the healthiest person in the world, or you can be the non-healthiest person in the world and still be diagnosed with cancer. So whether it's running in the family or there's no sign of it in your family line at all. So where does it come from? We can talk about how it comes from a certain level of bacteria and a certain level of cells and a certain level of something, and because this happened and that happened. We can talk about the science behind why a person catches cancer, and it's legitimate science, yes? But a lot of the times, from what I understand on a spiritual note, that when a person feels guilty about something, right, and that trauma is stored in the body of what they feel guilty for, it takes the form of a cancer, because essentially your mind is a very powerful thing. That guilt has to transmute or transform into something, I should say. So needles, you are not wrong. Maybe you, because what's sticking out to me from the cards is finding needles. From the finding needles in a haystack card, finding needles. So some form of injection, something that was injected. Or maybe you saw someone injected with something that needs to be said, and that was a form of a trauma for you. Something happened that just did not sit right with you, and the body responded in such a way where it was so traumatic. I could be talking to somebody with a form of cancer. Let's see. They are meant to protect you, and you are meant to heal them. Okay. This seems to me of something that was done or doing something to someone, and in the process of doing something to someone, the guilt of doing whatever this was so heavy that it turned into a form of cancer, like a physical form of cancer. So let's. And there's something with photos, but you're not wrong is out here. Needle in a haystack again. What? This is a lot of needle action. I don't know what's going on here. It's a lot of needle work. It was either you or them. War zone. I'm glad you chose you. Okay, so I created that card off of an experience that somebody created, or not created, I should say, but an experience that was happening to someone that was close to me, and they were in the middle of a war zone and they had to choose between them and somebody that was fairly younger than them. And so they chose their life, they chose to protect their life to serve their country. And in the process of protecting their life, they had to take the life of another. So, and this is in the middle of a war, right? And so that guilt had really hit that person, and they wondered if they did the right thing by taking this person's life. Because in hindsight, it was either them or the person, right? And when you're dealing with honoring your country or serving your country, sometimes you have to do things that are not necessarily comfortable, but it's for the greater good, right? It's for the love. So you did something for the love of someone. You protected someone from something. Needle in a time stack. Some sort of war zone or some sort of torture mechanism using time. Okay, so let's move forward. So what is this that needs to be asked bluntly without cruelty? Well, in this circumstance, it's your heart that can overpower harsh logic. Okay, okay. So I'm seeing this idea and the concept of love conquering all, but it's hard to tell somebody that love conquers all when they don't believe in such a concept. Like, because I see that the heart chakra is closed off, right? There could be an opening, but it's closed off. Because something stung. Okay, so this could be in regards to, and something about 38 here, but this could, when you were 38, something could have happened, but this can be in regards to not seeing the greater good in sacrificing, right? Not seeing the benefit of sacrificing for the greatest good of all. How could it be the greatest good, right? Like, with the situation that I spoke about earlier, how could it be the greatest good if somebody's life was taken, right? If you're in the middle of a war and you have to decide between your life or someone else's, how is it the greatest good of all? We don't know what could have happened, right? If you decided to not win because somebody had a significant age difference in life and they had their whole life ahead of them, and let's say you allowed them to take your life because you just thought to yourself, oh, they're too young, they haven't seen the world yet, and this person goes on and does more damage, right, than the world was ready for, simply because you did not make the decision to take their life. Now, intuition happens. Intuition kicks in. And sometimes you know when you're meant to stay out of a war zone. Sometimes you get forced in it, And sometimes you think to yourself, all you want to do is get home, right? No matter where home is, all you want to do is get back to your family, come out of this war, come out of this zone where it's nothing but bombs and guns, and you just want to get out of that frame of mind, right? And to me, this seems like it's a mental war zone that's going on in your mind. And also, something could have happened physically. So, can love solve? I feel like the question that may be coming from you would be, can love really fix this? Can it really fix all the traumas in the body? Can it fix the closed heart chakra? Can it fix, the torture and torment? Yes. Right? Without cruelty. Without being cruel about it, yes, it can. Right? And I feel like you definitely dealt with some gatekeepers. But I feel like you also need to know that you made the right decision. Nobody has told you that you've made the right decision. You did what was best. So show up and show out in the room they swore they blocked you from, and walk gracefully past the gatekeepers you're firing upon arrival. Do it with a smile, right? Tell me about these gatekeepers, please. This is definitely somebody in charge of the pool. Sometimes the best thing to do is close both eyes so that you can open a very important one. Yeah, your intuition here. Trusting your... Why is there a lack of trust with the intuition? What's going on here? Because of alchemy? You could be okay, so the gatekeepers that you could have dealt with, they could be heavily into alchemy or siphoning energy. So it's like they know how to manipulate the energy. So it's just like whatever, let's say for instance, they have a level of regret, right? And the level of regret is so overwhelming that it's hard for them to even stand at the gate. So what they do is they stand up at the gate, but they take your energy of feeling like, oh, well, I had to do this for the greater good, rather than taking the energy that belongs to them, which is the energy of regret. This seems like a energy swap. Also feels like it feels like a destiny swap here, or somebody tried to swap what's naturally yours, what should have been yours. Yeah. Okay, so the card that came out was, Vast beloved, do you know how loved and adored you are? I think somebody is utilizing the level of hate the world has for them, and they're trying to project it onto you. Like the world hates you. The world doesn't like you. You're the problem. You're the reason for X, Y, and Z. When it's really them. So they're resentful, they're hateful, their heart chakra is closed. And it's like putting all of that energy and all that trauma that belongs to them, and they're just throwing it on you. Like, oh, here, you take it, because I'm a gatekeeper. But not for long. Not for long. So bismuth required for this alchemy, a mundane element. Yeah. Maybe there's a way to subtract this element. Because this is the specific Unity. Okay. So this is the specific element that this person is using in order to stop you from realizing how appreciated, loved, and adored you are, in order to stop you from showing up. But I feel like you're going to show up anyway because people understand quality over quantity, right? I mean, think about all the people that went into that pool. Like in the Bible, when it talks about the pool, right? And it talks about all the people that went in there. Can you imagine how disgustingly dirty that pool must have been? Like on such a level that it takes the Messiah to tell this person, tell this 38-year-old man to get up and walk, take his stuff and walk. Don't even go into that pool. Do you know how filthy it must have been? Like when something is meant for you, it's going to be for you. And if somebody could take it from you that easily, that means it was not meant to be yours, right? But yeah, okay, that has to do with, so somebody wanted your youth. Somebody feels like because they took your prime years or the best years of your life, they feel like you wouldn't ever see yourself as somebody who could be loved, appreciated, attractive because they did this. And whatever this is, because they did it at such a young age, they feel like they can just, like that has to do with like, it's like eternal beauty. It's like trying to take somebody's eternal beauty with an earthly element and trying to take it forever for the rest of their life. This doesn't make sense to me. Or it's like somebody waiting for your attractiveness to fade, right? But you have like an inner wisdom that beauty is eternal. Beauty is not like just momentarily. It's not just something where you take it at face value, right? But this person thinks if they take away if they use this element, or if they took away your self-esteem, there's no way you'd want to walk into the same room as them, not realizing that the only reason they don't want you to walk into the same room as them is because they know you're going to fire them for everything they've done. Okay, so quality over quantity. Science versus spirituality. Yeah, I see whatever this element is, it's not working anymore. Whatever this level of alchemy, this is somebody who finds themselves to be a high-level alchemist, and not even the high-level alchemy that they know is working. So, because it's just reversed. So science versus spirituality, logic versus faith versus fate, right? The faith versus the fate. Third parties, misinformation, relationships, and traps. Person has a lot of options. Okay, so the first gate is going to be all about science. This person's going to be very technical. And then you're going to realize that the level of spirituality that you possess already, maybe you just forgot, right? But the level of spirituality that you possess already is going to triumph over this level of logical science. So like I said before, it's like somebody telling you, right? God forbid. But it's like somebody telling a person, okay, you're diagnosed with a certain form of cancer. It's a rare cancer. You only have a certain amount of days or years to live or months to live. Then you got to go, right? Science says you have to go. But what does spirituality say? You can literally, your mind, your body, your soul can literally heal from anything, right? It's all about the frame of mind, like Jesus and the man by the pool. The man knew he wanted to get up. He just had to be reminded by the voice within, which is what I call our reference as Jesus. It's like the Messiah within, the mastermind within. It's telling you that you can heal from this, right? So this is having so much faith that even when you're bombarded and presented with a ton of scientific facts, it doesn't triumph or it doesn't rule over the decision that you want to be better. You want to get up and walk. You want to use your legs. You want to use your level of strength and be the person you know you're destined to be. Okay, let me close out the reading. Okay, so it says, be upset all you want. I'm not quitting on us. I'll fight anyone for you. Okay, this is in reverse. Clarify this card, please. You made the right decision for yourself as well as the others that were involved, and lovers must lie to protect you from the ones they laid down with. Okay. So you're quitting something. I think you're going to start quitting this something about, it just feels like an experimental injections. Oh, this may cure. We're going to use this experimental drug. It may cure your cancer. It may not. It's not meant to, because if it cures you, that means you don't have to pay for treatments. And if you don't have to pay for treatments, that means somebody's out of a job, right? Or somebody has to find somebody else who is so convinced that they need this experimental drug that they'll be willing to do whatever, pay whatever this is, right? It's like quitting a bad habit or quitting this. If it's not a physical injection, it's like quitting this mental poison of, because you're a certain age, because you haven't reached this level of success, because, everybody's trying to walk all over you. You don't deserve the best life possible. And you made the right decisions. Lovers must lie to protect you from the ones they lay down with. So I feel in the process of this, and this is my Ma'at card, I feel like in the process of this, there's somebody that you have been protecting, or there's somebody you want to protect first before all of this, or you want to protect them from the people who swore up and down, if you're going to go down, then the person you want to be with or the person that you're with is going down too. Like, who, this just feels like a lot of fear tactics. I'll be honest. Oh, we're going to make you fear us. And if you don't fear us, we have the backing for you to fear us. And it's just like, imagine a gatekeeper telling you that the last day the last day of work, knowing the next day they're going to get fired. But for the whole 24 hours, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to, those words are empty. So that's your reading. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. Hi, Pal2. Welcome to your reading. I don't have an opening yet. Just bear with me. Okay. So you have the military card. Okay. This could be in regards to, I'm picking up two things. I'm picking up AC-17, right? And then I'm also picking up Air Force. Okay, so let's get started. So the first card is, talk about Daniel in the Lion's Den. Okay, invest in a date with your love today in order to seal the successful deal. Then you have transmute your hate and resentment into forgiveness. You are most welcome. Then you have this person has a really good heart and will treat you with kindness. And you also have, I can give you everything you've been missing. You just have to trust me. Let me in and trust me, please. And your last card is many sacrifices, many secrets, many regrets, but no one loves the way you do. Okay. So, talk about Daniel in the lion's den, right? Daniel was so good and efficient at his job, right? His only request was that he was able to pray, right? He just wanted a few moments to pray and to glorify God and in his home, in the corner of his home where he usually does what he does, okay? So the men that worked alongside with Daniel, and I'm paraphrasing, please don't take me word for word on this, but the men who were working with Daniel, they were so jealous of the way he worked, just his work ethic. Everything was to perfection. That they went to the king, and of course they, they gave the king a sense of an ego boost in regards to telling him, hey, you should be, we should write a declaration that you should be the only one worshipped for a whole month. And anybody that worships anyone else outside of you, our king, should be like put to death, right? So the thing is, the king signed this declaration knowing that Daniel prays, right? Knowing that in order for Daniel to do his job with such efficiency, you just got to give him a couple minutes to glorify God. That's it. So Daniel knew of this, right? Daniel knew something was coming. The jealousy, the hate was just way too real, and he was way too good at his job. So the day before anything happened, he asked God to protect him from the enemy, right? Again, paraphrasing here. So, soon as he prays that prayer, the next day, the men go searching for Daniel. I mean, these men are watching this man so hard because he's so great at what he does that they know what time he prays, where he goes to pray, what room, what corner of the room he goes to pray. They know every single thing about Daniel, right? And they wonder why they can't do as a good of a job as Daniel does, because they're watching him way too hard. Anywho, so get to the point now. They go to Daniel, they go to his home. He's disobeying the law. He's not praying to the king. He's not glorifying the king. What is he doing? He's glorifying God. So they bring Daniel to the king. Look, he's glorifying a man outside of you. He should be put to death. So the king, being enraged, right, he goes and he hides Daniel in the lion's den. And essentially, he doesn't hide him in a lion's den. He throws him in there, throws him into the lion's den, and he says, may your God protect you. Closes up the den of the lion, seals it, marks it, walks away. These jealous men, resentful men, they're thinking they got away with murder, right? And they did it off of the king's hand. So, for the whole day into the rest of the night, the king cannot sleep. He took one of his best workers because of his ego and because of a declaration he signed and threw Daniel into the lion's den. So he couldn't sleep all night. Next day, he rushes over to the den. He moves everything that he put in Daniel's way out of the way, and he calls out to Daniel. And you know what Daniel says? Daniel says, glory to the king. The level of diplomacy. Okay, let's get started on your reading. So, clarify this card for me. So, something you have to remember more than anything is that despite what the king, or where the king put Daniel. He loved Daniel. He loved him as a worker, loved him as just as a person overall, just loved him as an individual. He really loved this man, right? But I say the level of diplomacy because Daniel could have came out of the den like, oh, glory to God, I'm still alive, ha ha ha, right? He could have came out boastful, but he doesn't. He says, glory to the king. And the king asked him, what happened? Like, how did you survive being in the lion's den? Daniel said, I prayed about it, and an angel came to watch over me, right? So it was only then the king realized that, of course, there has to be a God. There has to be somebody above him because Daniel survived being in the lion's den. Now, the same jealous, resentful men that came after Daniel in the first place, the king got so angry with them that he not only threw them in there, he threw their wives in there too, right? Closed up the den the same, after taking Daniel out, of course, closed up the den the same way he closed Daniel in. Not one person survived that lion. Not one jealous man, not one resentful man, not a wife attached to the man. No one survived. Everybody died, right? Because they kept going further and further and further into the cave. From then, Daniel no longer has to deal with those men because they're gone, right? And he becomes the right hand to the king. Not only does he become the right hand to the king, he does his work even more perfect, even more efficient than before, and still kept the same routine of glorifying God before he started his workday. So, I'm telling you this to tell you, right? Daniel is a representation of the many levels of consciousness you possess. Daniel was the king. Daniel was also the jealous man. Daniel was also the lion. Okay? Daniel was facing every level of himself that he needed to face. And then he had to step into the lion's den. The lion's den is dangerous when you're looking at it from a physical, technical standpoint. It's a lion. That's it, right? You come across a lion, that's it. You're gone. But the lion is also a representation of the lion's den is a many representation of the many unknowns a person can face in the midst of their own darkness. Well, at least that's what I get from it. So, you have come out of the lion's den, right? You have faced the many depths of yourself, the many unknown parts of yourself with diplomacy. So now, this gives me very celebratory energy. You have to release this hate and resentment, like any hate and resentment you have towards the people that were working against you, jealous of you. They no longer exist, right? You have handled these people to the point they have just fallen off or fallen out of your life, period. So, it is a time for you to just honor what you've been through and also where you're going with a level of kindness and a good heart. Yes, these people did this because they wanted to ruin you. And in turn, they got ruined. Yes, they did it because they were jealous of you. How could you be so efficient and so effective at your job? And how could the king or the ruler or the sergeant or the general, like you of all people, I've been working here longer than you. I've been doing this longer than you, but yet you're the first pick. That's because they've been watching you too damn hard. Okay? That's their problem. It's not yours anymore. So release that. Release all bitterness that I feel like it's a group of men. It's like a group of men wanted you to carry such a level of bitterness that even when you got promoted, you couldn't see the good in it. You could only see what you had, what you've been through in order to get there. Let it go. Right? And celebrate it with the people who were actually rooting for you, who actually cared, who actually was just like, hey, did you take the time to pray today? Are you all right? Is everything all right? Like the people who were genuinely looking out for you. Forgiveness is key here. Okay? So there's an opening in transmuting all that hate and that resentment that these men wanted you to feel. There is now a new opening. What is this new opening? This opening is coming across somebody who you have changed their life for the better. So who's your king, right? Or your queen? You have changed this person's life for the better, and they want to thank you in person. Somebody could be dealing with like, I know this is military, but I also get a sense of a high-ranking official because this decision-maker card wants to come out. So you're dealing with somebody who moves or who delegates, I want to say a mass of people at any given time. And there's something about a deal, like a partnership. Somebody made a deal or invested in something and said you would be a great part of the deal or a great part of the team, something. So that's what you're opening up. You could be proposing something to someone, or this person could have a proposal for you. It's just like when the king realized that there was a higher power at play, and then he was just like, surely God must be real. Surely God must exist if you survived the lion's den throughout the whole night. And he made him his right-hand man. So somebody could make you their right hand, or they feel like you would be perfect to be their right hand in... It could work anyway. I see this as a work partnership, but I also see this as somebody who's looking at you as a love interest too. Close out the reading. And if this is the case, this is definitely somebody that's secretly admiring you. This person has not come up to you yet and told you, hey, maybe you were the angel, right? But this person has not come up to you and told you, hey, you are the reason I was able to get through this, or because of you, I was able to, see an attack that was coming that I wasn't aware of, or see the jealousy that was coming, or see like somebody trying to overthrow me. And I want to say thank you in advance, right? So if I wasn't who I am, would you love me? Can you accept a dark past? Okay, so this person could be asking you, or you are asking this person. Despite everything they've done, or despite everything you've done, can you see them in a better light? It's like the king to Daniel, right? The king did not want Daniel to look at him as the person who threw him in the lion's den and said, oh, may your God protect you, right? But again, the level of diplomacy that Daniel showed, he didn't say glory to God. He could have said it. But in order to convince the king that there was a higher power at play, he said glory to the king. And then convinced the king, oh, God must be real. Because I, the king, threw you in the lion's den, and you still came out alive, right? Somebody threw you in the midst of darkness. You had in the unknown territory, in hopes you would come out, but it was unlikely you were going to come out of this unscathed. And you did, at least in some ways. How do you wake up the sun? History has the answer. Eternal love. And this is from my owl card. Typical owl, true owl. How do you wake up the sun? How can we tell that we've been here before? Right? How can we tell of civilizations that came way before this time lapse, or the many time lapses that came way before this time lapse? It's history, right? And it's the level of knowledge of what's happened before us that was passed down in order for us to understand, okay, this happened before me. This is a reincarnation of this time lapse or that time lapse, right? And when you look at, it makes me think about, there are certain points in history where, let's say, ancient Egypt, right? Let's say the Old Kingdom, the New Kingdom. To this day, pyramids are still standing, which means in some way, shape, or form, they shape history and they did something right? Now, take another time frame in history. Pompeii, for instance. That whole place wiped out. We had to go digging to find somebody to realize that there was a whole civilization. And I think that says a lot. I think when you are doing something that's going to impact history in a positive way, you're going to stand. And when you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, despite the position you have, you're going to fall. Okay? So, you are somebody you're dealing with. Money is not an issue to them. This person can make money in their sleep. They can make millions of dollars. They have billion-dollar industries, empires. They completely run the show. Or whoever this is, they're definitely looking out for you. Okay, so that's your reading, pile 2. Bye. Hi, pile 3. Welcome to your reading. So, excuse me for laughing. It's just the way that I'm abruptly ending these readings. I don't have an opening, so bear with me. Okay, so the first card you have is breathe and realize it's not that deep. Second card, go back to your luxury underwater home. The answer is there. Third card, always remember you are someone's dream partner in life. Fourth card, you make the Grinches of the world want to be Care Bears. I created these cards, but sometimes I wonder, like, in that moment, like, what was I thinking about, right? When I said, oh, that would be a perfect card, like, okay. Anywho, next card. Book of Job. God asked where Job was when he was creating, right? And then you have, you are destined to build this empire, so stop thinking at a franchise level. Connectivity and expertise is the key here. Then you have, always be compassionate to the ones with spiritual blood on their hands. No amount of soap can wipe it off. Then you have, add a beneficial element to H2O. So add something special to your water. A person does not have to be the most attractive to be the most beautiful in the room. And then you have, this is Nefertari and Ramesses, the second kind of love. And your last card is, there is a presence on the land that needs permission to leave. Let it go and you'll see a change in revenue. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? But Okay, so your story here is in regards to Job, right? We all know God and the devil make a deal with each other. The devil wants to take everything away from Job. God says, fine, take everything away from him, just don't hurt him, right? So Job goes through so much. I mean, everything gets taken away. His foundation, his sense of stability, his spouse, his kids, every single thing, right? Because essentially, what the devil was doing, or, God in a different form, was testing his level of faith. So, comes a point in time where Job gets so angry, right? So mad that he thinks it has to be God that's fighting with him. Like, why would God even consider letting the devil take everything away from Job? This is a praying man. This is a man of faith. Everything is taken away from him. Why? Right? And so it comes to the point where God tells Job, he asks him, well, when I was creating this galaxy, this solar system, this planet Earth, where were you? Right? When I was creating the stars, the ethers, where were you? Right? And where was he? Where was Job? Within the thoughts of God. So, whatever system or whatever was being used to go against Job to take everything away from him, it was the same systems that he had to understand that were not going against him, and God was not going against him, but it was really a battle of the mind, right? God created this beautiful alignment for Job to be abundant and fruitful and just prosperous. But there had to have come a point where Job himself did not feel that he was deserving of having everything he had, hence why it was taken away from him. Even though he was a praying man, he was a grateful man, there was some part of his mind that believed, hey, all of this should be taken away and I should gain it back twice as much, tenfold. Right? So, the fact that this card is above, this is a Nefertari and Ramses is the second kind of love, makes me think about Egyptian times, yes. But let's say the greatest love of all, let's say the love of your life was completely taken away from you. Why would God do that? Why would you take away the love of a person's life? Why would God take away the love of your life? And where were you when he took this person away? You were in the thoughts of God. So, I say that to say, if we honestly think about it, we think about the story, right? So much was taken away from Job that even his spouse told him, just give up, just quit. You believe in a God, you believe in a greater, a higher divine being that is taking everything from you. You might as well just give up, quit, and do something with your life. I'm not going to say what she said exactly, but do something with your life that doesn't result in continuing to live, right? But I think about that. And I think, would Job have seen, would he have seen this side of his spouse if he didn't lose absolutely everything? I mean, it takes a man to lose absolutely everything to bring out the darkest parts of their former spouse. And their former spouse is not like, oh, I'm going to ride with you to the end. No, just quit, give up. You believe in this higher power that doesn't exist. Or he, she, they, them, whatever, however it resonates. But maybe you thought the best love of your life was taken away from you. And God wanted to show you that you may have thought that was the best love of your life, but it actually wasn't. This is somebody that was pretending to be the greatest love of all. Somebody that was pretending to be the ride or die, but they were not. Right? So, always be compassionate to the ones with spiritual blood on their hands. Do everything in your power to protect those eyes, recognition and reward. Protecting your eyes means protecting what you allow yourself to see, protecting what you allow yourself to know on an intuitive level, and ultimately protecting your intuition. Because Job knew he was deserving of a luxurious life, right? But Job was also around somebody who thought, you are as luxurious as I'm going to want you to be. You're as luxurious and the money is as stable as I'm going to want it to be. The minute it goes, I'm out. Imagine being around somebody like that. Being around somebody who was just waiting for you to hit your jackpot and then just dipping out and leaving. So, God, I'm going to say the God in you, was protecting you from that. I'm not going to give you the fortune I know that you deserve. I'm not going to give you twice as much as what you have now if you're surrounded by somebody who just wants you to be as successful as they want you to be. Right? So, you are dealing with someone who, for as long as they needed you to believe that they were your divine counterpart, was going to make you believe that they were your divine counterpart. And as soon as you got rich, they were going to take half, they were going to leave. Or you were surrounded by somebody who knew you were meant to be luxurious, live a lavish life, but they wanted you poverty-stricken. God knows why, I don't know. Some people get triggered when you think of living a comfortable, easy life where nothing's hard and you don't have to deal with the hardships of woe is me. Some people get so triggered by that. Some people feel like you should just struggle because they struggled. You should be poor because they were poor. You should be poverty-stricken because they're poverty-stricken. People honestly feel like that. And this was somebody who feels like, or who felt like, if they had the right strategy. I mean, you could be dealing with somebody who has a military background. Oh, all it takes is the right strategy of manipulation and energy tactics. I'll get this person feeling poor in no time. Not realizing that there is a greater power, a greater force, more powerful than their projected thoughts of you should be poor, you should be unhappy, you should be miserable. At play, right? So, protect your intuition. Protect your level of knowing. Protect your understanding, the way you understand the world, right? Because you don't have the eyes everybody else has. Some people see with 20/20 vision. Some people see with no vision at all. Some people have tunnel vision. But everybody's got their own perception of how life should be. And that's fine. But the minute somebody feels like, because of what they've been through, you should experience a certain life by their disposal and only be rich when they want you to be rich. Only be happy, satisfied, fulfilled when they want you to be fulfilled. That's a problem. So, what is, you make the Grinches of the world want to be Care Bears? The soul, El Soul, the soul of something. The rock you seek resides in, the answer you seek resides in the rock's arch of history. You are the key to something. And I feel like these men know this. There's a lot of men coming up in this reading, but these men know that you're the key to something. You're the key to something very beautiful, like a very beautiful world or a very beautiful beginning. I'm also seeing 3 bicycles here, and I'm seeing 3 sets of rings. So cyclists, you could be dealing with men who love staying in the same cycle. If it ain't broke, don't fix it cycle. So, but your answer is in history, right? Your answer is in the pattern, not so much the cycle. The pattern of the cycle has your answer. So it's just like, okay, I know when, let's say for instance, whenever you get to a certain frequency of happiness, whenever you get to a certain frequency of self-acceptance and abundance and appreciation for life, these same men always come in with the same tactic, with the same projections, with the same manipulation, with the same massive bodies. You go and do this, you go and do that, you go and do the other. Because we don't want this person to reach their level of frequency they should have been on a very long time ago. So you stop the pattern, right? You realize it's not that deep. It's not that serious, right? If somebody wants you to just be angry and stomping your feet, it's not that deep. It's not that serious. Somebody wants you to be unhappy and in loveless relationships, it's not that deep, right? For what? Success? For moving mountains? For changing history? It's not that deep. Yeah. So, the minute you realize you give up it says give up the ghost or regret awaits. You've given up the ghost, right? I feel like if you're dealing with a group of men, they cannot face, like there's a group of men that cannot face themselves for what they've done to you. And this gives me very like, this gives me like G.I. Jane energy. You know that one sergeant, that one person that just refused to accept the fact that Jane was a woman, she was strong, she was a warrior, she was capable of doing anything those line of men were capable of doing. He just did not want to come to terms with the fact that she was a woman and she had such strength. And men like this exist. Right? So, they're being forced to give up this idea that they can like dangle history over you. I'm going to dangle what I did over you. I'm going to dangle the past over you. I'm going to keep you reminded of the past. I'm going to project all of what you used to be, not what you are, not who you are. I'm going to remind you that you're a woman and I'm a man. Whatever the case is, right? But whatever this is, it's just like they're being asked to give up this cycle or they'll be faced with nothing but regret. Build in the Carolinas, so North and South Carolina can be significant. Okay. Mm. So, the card that came out for you was a knowledge card. And it says experience is life-saving. Talk about 24 minutes. So, this just confirms to me that this is a woman that has had to deal with being bullied by men and being bullied by men of a certain stature. So, White Underbelly has a documentary where there's this one woman in particular where I was watching her video, and she talks about how ever since she was a kid, she was always fighting. Whether she was fighting her brothers, she was fighting other boys, she was just fighting people that were trying to pick her. She was always fighting. She was always getting into something. And she had built this reputation of being able to defend herself. So, naturally, as she's able to defend herself, that's when different men, they heard around town that there was a girl who can beat up other guys, and they wanted to test their luck. She beat them up too. So she kept beating up these men that kept challenging her because they were challenging her from a sense of strength. Since they're a man, they're automatically going to be stronger than her because she's a woman, right? So, fighting all her life. But she was highly intelligent. Got accepted into the best colleges. She couldn't afford it, right? And she had also dealt with trauma from her father and, having to fight with him. So one day it was just a huge lapse and everything caved in for her and she took to drugs, right? She did everything up under the sun. Now, while she was trying every drug up under the sun, she was still being tested by these men. She still had to fight these men off, right? And then she wasn't making any money because the father kicked her out because she knew how to defend herself. So she turned to prostitution. Now, in the sense of turning to prostitution, she also was mixing drugs. So she turned that into a lifestyle because that was her form of money, and she mixed it with whatever substance she wanted. Now, this was back in the day. This was not like a Tinder swipe or anything like that, like Grindr, anything like that. But this was one of those things where, a car would pull up and she would just offer her services, get paid for it, what have you. So, a car pulls up, tells her he's interested in her services, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. Now, she was already dealing with a really rich client. But she said, hey, it's money. I don't know when I'm going to come into this level of money again. Let me take this opportunity on top of the opportunity I have. So she goes all the way to the location where the guy is. And she goes into his apartment. Now, she's so high and off what have you, that even though she feels intuitively that the building is sketchy, she goes in there anyway. So she's going into the room. She goes into the place of this man. She goes into his room. All you see is a military background, military photos. You see him with guns, him with different people. And it was just all about him, right? That room was just all about him. So she sits down. And she's like, okay, well, what are you interested? What would you like me to do? And because it costs this much for that much for that. And he said, oh, I'm not paying you for anything, right? And lets her know that the only reason he brought her in to that apartment was so that he could kill her. And then he described how he was going to kill her. What he was going to do to her body, the pieces she was going to be in the back of his trunk, what he was going to do with that part. And so automatically, she realizes that this guy is serious. Doesn't matter what drug is in her system. Her fight mode kicks in. And she said she was fighting this man for 24 minutes. Close combat, right? And she remembered, the only reason she remembered the time was she said something had kicked in when she realized yet again that she was fighting for her life. So, long fight, super long fight. She hits him over the head with something. She runs out into the hallway. She's yelling for help. Nobody's coming out. It's only then she realizes that this guy is residing in an abandoned building. And he had every intention to do what he was going to do to her and God knows whoever prostitutes he came across before. But not this one. So, she runs out, flags down a police car, and tells them, look, there's a man that's trying to kill her. The police take one look at her. They see her outfit. She can barely probably convey a sentence because the drugs that are still in her system. Yeah, right. Okay, somebody's trying to, sure. You know what? We'll just let you go for now, but stay off the streets. She goes to a cab. She gets a cab. She tells the cab driver to take her back to her original rich client in the rich hotel. And she explains along the way she doesn't have any money and that this guy tried to kill her. Cab driver gets upset, then says he's not driving her anywhere unless she goes down on him. Has to pull out a knife on the cab driver in order to get back to the hotel. The fight was so bad, she was bleeding in the back of her head, but she applied pressure with the pillow. She woke up the next morning, the pillow was stuck to her head. Called the hospital. They had to put her to sleep, do surgery. Doctors told her that if it was not for the fact that such pressure was applied on her head from the pillow as she slept, she would have died. Now, that was a very interesting story to me because it was one of those stories where I realized you cannot tell me God is not real. And earth angels, they come in many forms, right? So he saw her as a prostitute. He saw her as an easy target. He saw her as somebody he could just dismantle because he had a military background and everything was going to be copacetic. Little did he know, right? So, but without the experience this woman had of fighting all of her life, fighting different men who were bigger than her, taller than her, stronger than her, fighting her father, fighting. Had it not been without that experience, she probably would have been dead. But 24 minutes. For 24 minutes, she was fighting for her life. So, I say that to say, the fact that this is on top of a presence. There is a presence in the land that needs permission to leave. Let it go and you'll see change in revenue, right? The presence that wants to leave could be this presence of fight or flight. Because you're so used to fighting. You've been fighting. And it's not like you haven't been fighting for your life. It's not like men have not been coming up to you and testing you. It's not like men from different backgrounds, whether it be military, Air Force, they feel like, okay, give me the contract, I'll get the job done, have not been approaching you and fighting with you on an energetic level, spiritual level, even a physical level. It's not that, right? This is experience. You're coming from a place of experience. But it's also a presence that needs to leave because you are not in that position, or you do not have to be in that position to fight anymore, right? So maybe you have a beautiful, luxurious, easy life waiting for you. There's no military wanting to attack you. There's no Air Force waiting in the sky to just mess you up. Nothing. You have a luxurious, beautiful life ahead. All you have to do is release this idea that you have to fight your way out to get it. You have already had your 24 minutes of a life-changing experience. That battle is already over. It's done. This is something you need to know. This fighting, this close combat, it's done, right? I don't care how much military you're surrounded by. I don't care how much Navy SEAL gets done. It's done. Something is done. This idea of kill or be killed, it's done. So let's close the reading. So you have turned to the light in order to stop fighting the darkness. They will be left behind. They couldn't see your worth. It's too late. They do now. This B2B is more profitable as a B2C. Adjust quickly. An element of soul required. A person could have wanted to take your life. They could have wanted to siphon your life force. They could have wanted to drain you dry, suck the life out of you. They could not. And they especially cannot take your soul. I don't care if you were up against some of the top of the line, what appears to be the best magicians and alchemists of the world. They were no match for you. They had no chance to be with you. They had no chance to take your energy, even if they thought they were taking something from you. Whatever they thought they took is playing out in such a way where every time they think they're taking something from you, something goes off in their day-to-day. And they can't put their finger on it until they put their finger on the fact that they keep trying to mess with you. So, how do you turn to the light? You turn within, you vibrate higher. Somebody wants you to be in a lower frequency so they feel that they can battle you. You just rise above it. You raise your vibration, right? This is over. This idea, concept of having to fight a group of men back to back to back to back to back to back. Having to fight these men that control the masses, that control fleets, they control armies back to back to back. It's over. This is done, right? You just have to get it through your mind that it's done. So this business to business is more profitable as a business to consumer. Let there be light. So manifestations, the second you can adjust quickly to this, everything's easy now, you don't have to fight anymore. Manifestations come in like that, super quick. And you want to share your experience on a more personal level, right? So whether that be having a network of people, whether that be starting a group, whether that be starting something that allows you to reach other people to get them through their 24 minutes, their life-changing 24 minutes, there's something that you do. You showing your light on what you've been through guides other people out of their levels of darkness, right? And this is also a military card. What does the concept "let there be light" mean to you? Right? And the way you see military. Let's say you spent majority of your life having to deal with the attacks of people that were in the military, Air Force, Navy SEAL, right? You spent years being attacked, ridiculed, experimented on, tested on, tried on, siphoned on, right? And it's to the point where your outlook, you don't really like military. You don't really like Navy SEALs. You don't really like Air Force because you feel like, you've dealt with such a corrupt side of military or Navy or Air Force. You just feel like they can't be good. Serve the greater good of the country when they're attacking their own civilians? No way, right? So seeing the opposite of what somebody wants you to see. Maybe somebody thought you'd hate military forever. Or somebody thought you were going to hate the Air Force. You were going to hate the Navy SEAL forever. You were going to hate the Marines forever. But instead, you turned around and you said, you know what? I'm going to turn this into something that's inspirational. I'm going to turn this into something that's positively powerful. And that's exactly what you do. But you first had to change your outlook on not all military, not all Air Force, not all high-ranking people are just evil. Because I can definitely see you've dealt with some very vindictive, conniving people that thought, oh yeah, I'm a man, she's a woman, piece of cake. Computer versus creator, who wins? A person can have the most high-tech equipment to track you down, know your every move, implant something in you, extract something out of you. Doesn't matter what it could be the best of the best technology, right? Who helped them to create that? Programs. Who created those programs? People. Who created those people? Parents. Who created those parents? Grandparents. Who created those grandparents? And it's going to go all the way back to source. God. Universe. So if a person thinks all they got to do is just pull out the top guns and the big guns and the big boys. Who created those people? Who created that reform? Who can dismantle it within moments? God. Right? So whoever thinks that they're winning with the level of dark tactics and manipulation that they're using, you have to remember there is something much higher than you, is much higher than them, that's going to overthrow all of it in order for you to understand that you're meant to live an easy, comfortable life now. That's your reading. Bye.